Alrighty. Okay. Class time. Alrighty. Hopefully you like the music. Yeah, I've said this before. Sometimes I just want to like have a video, just all the music playing, just show you, you read it, you figure it out. Let's just dance. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not really getting paid for this. It's donation anyway. I mean, what the fuck? I wonder what the point of doing this is sometimes. And it's just, if for no reason the videos are a vehicle for the Aaron mix. That's a good enough reason to be here. Oh, and today's med break is brought to you by Big Red. Apparently, that's what I ordered. Just as a update, I got the van registered and legal today. Hey, and so I'm gonna actually have to take a picture of the. I'll put it in post maybe, or maybe I'll have another video of just the license on the green monster. I got to find a good. Oh, Kermit. Yeah, Kermit. Her name is Kermit. Her name. The van, my mobiler studio is named Kermit. Right, green. FROG. Fully rely on God. Right, frog. So the name of a frog, Kermit. There you go. Most well-known frog in the world, I think. All right. All right. So we gotta learn something today here, I guess. This VLF.IT, VLF Monitoring Station, Cumiana, and they give you the coordinates here, so you can find it yourself. System one, and I scrolled through it so you can see it. A lot of you are kind of familiar enough with this that you're not. It's not new, but it's like today's new today. Henrietta is still there monitoring the post. Henrietta the hen, our guard hen, guarding the magnetic induction coils because this is important stuff, right? You gotta have a guard on duty somewhere. I mean, look at how beautiful that sunset was. I mean, come on. So this is our antenna, the big T type audio. What am I reading? Audio signal is coming from the Marconi antenna. And I've said this before. Schumann resonances are they're glorified radio signals, right? The glorified radio station. However, you can catch this because it says radio, you can translate it into audio, okay? Right? You're going to get crackle and whatever, snap, crackle, and pop, but there is an audio component to this. If you run it through they're showing you the algorithm here, the M3U or the Windows Media Player or a translator into an audio signal, but it's essentially, you can get an audio component from it. It's AM, it's lower AM, but it's a radio wave, right? So they're showing you it's 11 meters high and 30 meters long. So a meter is 3 feet, so that's 90 feet long. It's almost 100 feet long, and it's 30 feet in the air, right? So this is, and then see the little wind dial there, so you know what the wind is doing. And I've done this before. At one of my live streams, I think I clicked on it and I got some music and we played it and it was all groovy and stuff. And it would be neat to be able to do something with that music, with that as music. I'm not that ambitious and I don't know enough, but I could, theoretically, you can get it captured as a wave signal and put it, play it. It's interesting. I've heard it. This is, like I said, snap, crackle, pop. All right, so that's our setup, and that's what they call the Marconi type antenna. And there's different. This is what you would see as an AM antenna, just a shorter version in old school terrestrial radio. That is a very common. That's a lot. What an AM antenna looks like, a loop. Like that's what you would call a loop antenna, because it goes up, out, ties it at the end, goes all the way back to the other end, ties it off there, and then there's a return, ties it, and then you have a full circuit. There's different types or configurations of loops, a loop antenna that's a T type, but it has got a loop of wire, a loop meaning a complete circuit, right? So it goes up there to a connector. You can't even see where I'm pointing to. Pointing to the screen, you can't even see it. So this right here, there's a connector that connects that too. And then there's a wire that runs there to the station there and then out. All right. So that's the electric side, the E side, as it says here, the E field. All right. So VLF monitoring. So we have 3 panels here. Okay, so the first one is, this is the decibel meter here. Okay, the scale here. It's showing you the colors. When we look at these view, this is a volumes per unit. A view meter is called VU, is volumes per unit, view meter. All right, so that's what this is, that measures a power or a decibel rating. Okay, and you have to look at the color and match it up with down here where the signal is, right? Where do you get the coloring? Well, in all of these, the spectrogram and all of these that I've explained to you how they work, I've told you how do they get the color on the graph, right? It's there somewhere. If you get the complete information, it's all there somewhere. And that's the problem that people have in this, is they don't know enough to know what all the complete information is. And so you get lost in trying to transliterate the color information into something that is useful to you, to the average person, right? So that's partially what my my job in this is to, you know, explain to you how they get the color information and why and wherefore and that, right? So this is, they're telling you the rate, the date. This is today's date, the time, 22. It's 11, I guess, or 10. It's 10 o'clock. Frequency 0 to 1500 hertz is showing you here. VLF field. The information www.vlf.it. All right. So this is a view meter. This is in decibels again, and minus. It's important to measure. It's not decibels. It's negative. It's on the negative scale. All right. This is an important, because they are so delicate and so fine. These are very, very delicate signals. You have to remember that. This is not just like a radio wave that's broadcast from a radio station that's, you know, thousands of watts. It's not that. This is on the negative side. This is the negative scale. You got to remember that. All right. That's for the strength or the power of it is the electric side, the amplitude. Right? All of this stuff goes together. These verticals are amplitude spikes. Okay, so you see where they fall, the color. You have to look at the coloring. You know, they're all somewhere in the middle here, right? Except where a few of them you see down here, it's in the red, right? This is not very relative to these two scales. This one's 15, the maxes out at 15,000 hertz. And this one maxes out at 1500 hertz. You see there's a line there between the two of them. That's the time, 16, that's the time, 18, 20, that's the time. And so you see where on here the color falls, right? You just match up, not that, sorry. You just match up somewhere the color on here, either really dark, the very super low, nothing going on, all the way up until, you know, you start getting into the negative 60, negative 50, you know, you start getting in the red here. All right, so that's what these colors designate, and most of them are all within that medium kind of range there. You know, but you look at the profile of that, right? See, this is interesting, and it's showing you decibels here, negative 80, negative 60, 40, 20, negative 100, right? So this is the 1500, you know, scale, like I said. And sometimes it's interesting looking at the colors, right? It's not just the bright flashes, the colors of it, but you look at the deep. When we start getting into these dark patches here, this is really interesting because this is like dead silence. Right? There's like nothing, the middle of the night, very, calm. And this is 16 to 100 is 4 in the afternoon, right? So this is in Italy over there, Cumiana. Look at how dark the patch is. That's very quiet, very calm. Not much electromagnetic. You can hear yourself thinking, right? That's what that is. There's not a residual electronics. You start picking up the signal going from the dark blue into, this background, right? You look at where that is, that's the majority of what's happening, going, forward into the night. Right? So that's interesting, right? That's interesting. That up until 4, it was just calm, and then, you start having this kind of, kind of hum going on in the air. I'm just looking at what this is showing me. All right. So, all right. So they're showing you the Marconi antenna and the Geophone. So the Marconi antenna is, once again, that's the electric component, which is measured in decibels. All right. The amplitude scale, 2 channels below. All right. So channel 1, the seismic monitor, frequency range 1 to 30 hertz for the top spectrogram, and that's this one right here, top spectrogram, right? Signals coming from Geophone IO sensor, in-out sensor, that's a 2-way signal, all right? Netherlands BV model SM, blah, blah, blah. 40 decibels amplified with a very low noise preamplifier. All right, we've talked about line level signal, all right? So that's what that's telling you. That's showing you. All right. That's what, let's go through this. Channel 1, all right, this right here, up to 30 hertz. Right. This is the seismic monitor. This is picking up like a turntable record with the grooves in it. An LP record is a type of seismic monitor. That you have a needle that goes into a groove, and as the needle moves, right, it is attached to coils. Right? There's a magnet that's attached to usually it's a diamond, or some of them are sapphire, some of them are onyx. So this is old school technology, but it's the pinnacle of records, LP. 33 1/3 speed LP record, long play record. All right. Vinyl. Thank God it's making a comeback. Otherwise, you'd be looking at me like, huh, what? But I grew up with records and LP records. And some of you, Jacqueline, Pamela, hopefully you're somewhere lurking around, Jacqueline, Bradley, some of you, the older ones, the ones I love, know records, right? So this is how a record stylus works. For an LP, there's a groove, and the stylus fits in the groove. And so as it goes around and spins around, the stylus, which is like a needle at the end of a cantilever, which is an arm, a very thin, like metal, aluminum cantilever, and which is a lever, and at the end of that is attached to 2 magnets, which represent 2 channels, your left and your right. So the magnets sit in the middle of, where am I? Like if you picture my fingers being coils of really fine, really tiny wire, right? So those coils of wire, which are essentially, where are we? Those coils of wire are essentially this. Well, you can't see it, but those induction coils, we're still talking about seismic meter. Those induction coils, I'm pretty sure I've actually shown, I know as a fact, I've shown actual pictures of the induction coil and the windings and all the copper. So this is very fine, tiny wire, like microscopic kind of level of shit, very fine wire that's wrapped in like a cylinder that goes around the magnet. The core is a magnet, and then that is in the middle of, like I said, the cylinder of the wire windings that creates an electric field, right? That movement of the magnet in that the copper creates a field. It creates an electric signal and it induces an electric signal, which then analog the movement to an electric signal, and that's sent to a preamplifier, right? It's a very low level signal that has to get amplified to a certain point that's recognized as what is called a line level signal, which is a certain voltage. It's like a 0.05 voltage. So the raw physical movement of the cylinder, the magnetic cylinders, there's two, again, the channel. Now there used to be one, now there's two, right? As the field is created, it sends a signal along the wire, which is picked up by the preamplifier, and amplified it to that line level. So it's the initial signal that is generated from the stylus is very low. It's like 0.005 or something, right? And so it has to bump it up a notch so it's recognized as the line level, so it can be recorded as legitimate data on the spectrogram, which plots it. It's like a printer. Like this, the spectrogram is a plotter of the data coming from the induction coil or the induction system, or coming from the Marconi antenna. It's the raw signal from the atmosphere is very weak, so it has to get bumped up in voltage like an order of 100 times for it to be recognized at the line level necessary, or 1,000 times, or whatever it is. It's a lot more than you'd think. Now they say a very low noise amplifier when you got it, but they amplified it 40 decibels. Okay, this signal here is negative, right? You got to picture what's happening. This is a negative decibel signal because it is so weak, right? Remember, the decibel scale, it measures not just physically how loud something is with acoustic waves, but it also is a power measuring scale for non-acoustic or electromagnetic, which are radio waves. So there is an actual value that's attached to decibels, which is what they're doing, that they amplified that by a number of 40, or if you take this number here at a negative 40, and they've bumped it up 40, positive 40, that you understand, like that's a huge difference in the signal going from it, not only from 40 decibels, like you could hear that, but going from a negative, bumping it up just so it's at the line level to be able to recognize it here, that you can see it. Otherwise, if you did not amplify it, you wouldn't be able to. You literally, it's too weak for you to be able to for the line level of the spectrogram to be able to determine what it's even saying. It wouldn't be able to literally hear the information that's coming from the seismic meters. All right. And so that's important to understand, that technically that's what is happening, is that the signals that are generated from the atmosphere, or from this measuring equipment, because these are so fine, it has to be so fine, so delicate, source that they're measuring, detecting, monitoring, that it has to get bumped up so significantly. All right. And so that's what that's showing you there, is the 40 decibels, coming from the Geophone. Signals coming from the Geophone IO sensor, 40 decibel amplified with a very low noise, right? So this thing right here is 40 decibel amplifier. So channel 2 is the electric field, right? This is a different meter. Is they're going back to the same that type of antenna, the Marconi antenna. Okay, this is measuring the electric field from 1 to 105 hertz from the bottom one. Okay, so you see this is showing you at low. This right here is is Schumann resonance material here. Okay, so you see what this is doing? These are the Schumann resonances here, okay? This is at our 7.8. This is at our 14.4, 14.1. And this is at our 21.7. And you see this kind of going up, sort of weak. All right, so this electric activity here, this is what they're measuring with seismic. This is the measuring, it's right there, okay? So this is they're only measuring what's right there in Italy, right? Cumiana, okay? It's only what's hitting that antenna, okay? So they're not measuring for Russia. They're not measuring for the United States. They're not measuring here what's happening here at my part of the world, right? They could be having seismic activity here, right? And you see this. The seismic activity, that's why they're giving you this. They're matching up seismic with the electric field, okay? And we've talked about the peroxy bonds. And we've talked about the electrons that are released with seismic activity, okay? So this is more of that the research that is, it's supported by the research on, Friedman Freund, on his more academic stuff that's not, talk about the cows, So this is the 105 hertz. Okay. And you got to remember that the frequency is moving across here horizontally. Okay. The frequency is held here. And we talked about the modes that's holding up at frequency. See, there's a series of them. Look at this, up to 40, right? You can see this. I know you can see this. This is high quality, digital, high definition TV. Of course you can see the nuances here, but I'm going to bring it into the paint program and have some fun with the doohickeys and graffiti all over it and have fun with it, So these are the electric strip here. I gotta find a joke to go with electric strip, electron strip. Joke of the day. I haven't said, I don't think the last video I said a joke of the day. I smiled, but I didn't say a joke of the day. Or joke of the video. So these are seismic. This is seismic. Okay, geophone. When they talk about geo is Earth, right? Of course, phone is, geophone. This is the Earth with seismic. All right. This is the electric. Okay, amplitude is electric. The seismic is they're measuring low frequency Earth moves up to 30 hertz. Like that's seismic. That's the actual acoustic wave that they're listening for. The pressure wave that comes with seismic activity, the Earth actually moving, right? And so this is an interesting graph to look at, right? This is how they used to show. Well, this is old school. How they show the line frequency data from the actual antennas, right? This is the line graphs coming from to show you the geophone trace. It shows the average peak signal is coming from the geophone sensor, 1 to 20 hertz. This one here in the purple, noise 10 hertz. It shows the medium. These are statistics, right? The mean, the median, and the mode. Right? I don't remember much. I think it was part of sociology when I had to take. It was either, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it was pretty sure. It was part of the sociology class that I took that we had to understand this bit about statistics. It was part of that module of, social science and statistics, and drove me crazy. But we now somehow depend on that information of looking at these graphs with those three, factors from the statistics, right? And maybe I should do a class or a video on the mean, the median, and the mode, because I've talked about that, the average, and where the baseline is, and where the, all of that. As I'm looking at the graphs and the numbers, right? I mean, I'm not a number guy, I'm not an equation guy, but they're here, and you got to know this, right? This is important stuff because it's not just, we're not in Kansas anymore, right? This is what makes up this information of technically how it's uh, plays out, how it's here, how it lines up, and what it is, and what the data is and what it represents, and not just to make it up as you go along, but to understand it, technically. You're not going to be an expert, probably. Okay, you're not going to have my level, but it doesn't matter. Just if you can understand what this, just the basics of it, and I introduce it to you, and you work through it, and we get through the vocabulary, and you can understand it and know this from that, and like that's it's worth doing this, right? I'm not getting much in donations. Please donate, but I'm doing this so that I can, noblesse oblige, I guess. I have a lot of years experience in meter reading and, antenna building and all of this stuff and electronics, and I love this. I've done it all my life. I have jobs where I've worked on computers, and I've done this. And this is a much different thing. I've dedicated my life to the Schimmer resonances and the, atmospheric electromagnetics at this point. And so it will take care of me if I bring this to you in the best way possible for you, so that you understand what it is that, again, what we're looking at when we, see this data. And so that at least if I can help you to make sense of it in some way, like that's what I'm doing here, and I always appreciate hearing from people that they've learned something and that they're getting something out of it, and that they can, that I'm encouraging them to keep going and don't lose track, because this is deep dive stuff, right? And it'll take a while for you to start getting what this is, and and so I even though I've made videos on this before, it's like, time to make another one. Time to get back to basics, right? And this is, this is advanced and it's basic, right? Just knowing what this is from a substantial level, even though it is basic, winds up being advanced, right? And so I recognize that, just because I know it, and I don't really know it all, and there's some of this that it's like, okay, like I just will explain to you what it is, and I'm not gonna go into more about it because, it's even beyond me, you know. And so, so that's what these colors here represent. They're, noise is like the background. They're listening to. That's what noise, when they're saying noise, they're listening in the background. Okay. So the mean, the median, and the mode, I've talked about that. I did a video yesterday in the modes. I've talked about the, the baseline and the median, where the signal is, and, it kind of blips up, and, these kind of thing of looking at where the baseline of the signal is. And the yesterday's video, when I was talking about the observations, I was talking about the red of the, Q3, quality 3. It's way pegged up, jacked up there, I kept describing it as, way up at the top. There's a 24, which is higher than all the rest of them in the magnetic. So it's giving everything this orange, reddish fringe around the edges of it, because there's red everywhere. There's red mode. I wish I knew more technically about what it is, but even if I did, I don't know if you'd really resonate with it. So, but it's, the middle, not at the most magnetic part of the signal, but it's somewhere near the base. And, it's interesting, how, like I said, how we get the colors on a spectrogram based on what the dependencies are. And so these line graphs are dependencies. That's what they call dependencies. And I want to point something out here. See, this is decibel meters, dBm, right? Radio signals. I'm pretty sure that M is meter, but it may not be. All right, so dBm. And we see negative, right? I blew this up so you can make sure to see the negative part, because they are so fine. They are so subtle. These are registered, recognized as a negative decibels, right? It's just very quiet. That's why it's just a very quiet signal. It's not on the negative. It's not because it is, not because it can't be positive in its, its signalness, but it's just weak. It's a very subtle signal. All right? So it's measured as a negative. And, all of this stuff, right? Just gotta, like, everyone talks about it in the, as if it is like this really big, you see the spikes and, oh my God, this is, crazy spikes. And it's like, oh, if you only knew how subtle this actually was, and it's more your reaction to it that's really, the worst part of it, rather than what it actually is in a lot of cases. Overreacting to what people think it is, rather than it being the thing that you think it is causing the problems. This is just a operating principle that I am aware of. All right, so that's what the colors are. They're really neat, and so they could, they plug in the dependency data from the Schumann resonances, which are modes, and it's the amplitude and the quality are inversely related, and that's how they get the mode, right? And so then that's what gets printed on the spectrogram. However, whatever information you're putting into it at the right line level meter, all right, meter reading, okay, you can get a spectrographic signal, and you'll get all kinds of neat, interesting colors, all right, depending on what's put into them. And you have your colors here, your color wheel. And that's what you're looking at for the spectrogram, is whatever is sent into it. And, the colors are based on what they put. So you can get an interesting enough signal, or on a spectrogram, if you plugged in the purple, the green, the yellow, and the pink there. All right, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, the spectrogram is going to give you the information. It's not an antenna. It's not, the spectrogram, the Schumann, is not an antenna. It's a qualitative view based on parameters that are plugged into the machine to give you a certain visual effect. It's a plotter, it's a printer, it's a 3D visual aid, right? You got to remember that. The spectrogram is a 3D visual aid to help you visualize a signal based on what's put into it. But if you put whatever color information you put into it, right? Like they just designed this with this color wheel to give you a visual perspective on it, a visual picture, right? But it could have been any colors. They could have arranged that in a different way, right? They just figured it out there. Okay, looks good. And so if they gave you a different color set with You know, that's what's interesting and fun about this. They give you a different, you know, knowing this, they give you a different color set. You know, you could get the lime green and, you know, landscape on it. And I mean, you know, look, they've done that with this. There's a lime green, yellow, bright yellow. I mean, look at how groovy and fun this picture is. I mean, come on. Right? I mean, you know, you just need some, you know, some fun guy to help you figure it out. Smoopers. Um, as we call them, and it just gets groovy and it becomes a 3D picture and you get it, right? All right, so this is the magnetic. So I've gone through all of that. Down here, this is a Henrietta, our guard hen, Inspector Henrietta, checking out the induction coil. And this is a beautiful landscape, panoramic view captured from my garden. Ah, that's lovely. And it's Italy. That's and they're showing you that's where, you know, that's where this here is, in the mountains. And so that's what, just as a reminder, it was way ago when I was at that the map. A beautiful view, right? All right. So, you know, but you got to remember, right? This is not like, I mean, this is good enough, I guess, but you know, it's like, how secure are these being held up by cinder blocks? And you know, you got to figure that into the equation of things moving and shifting a little bit. And you know, like, all right, so somewhere in there it figures it out in there. All right, so this is our right. So you see right here the frequency, right? This is says FFT resolution 10.5 megahertz, scroll over 40 seconds. It's a resolution, so it's its scanning time, right? Scroll time every 40 seconds. Schumann resonances are almost always visible when not covered by local noise coming from 380 kilovolt high power line. All right. Also, the cars passing 25 meters away from the sensor leave their trace in the area below 10 hertz. The coil is simply connected to the line input of a Realtek 97 audio card. Picture updated every 30 seconds. Spectrogram part below 0.1 to 4 hertz. It is good for the PC1 detection. All right. So this is the ULF magnetic field. All right. Spectrum scale, magnetic components of the spectrum below with long-term average curve red, last waterfall line. Frequency range 0.1 to 35 hertz with a sensitivity of 1 picotesla at 1 hertz, here with a 30 hertz low pass filter turned on. Okay. All right. So I've talked about this before. The filtering to necessary to, you know, kind of nail down the Schumann resonances, nail down your signal, a good clean signal to be able to put it out there. So you get an amplifier, you need a filter, right? This is processed stuff, right? It's highly technical to get a good, clean, clear signal. And even if you get it, like, you know, they're still telling you, right? The 380 kilo is 1,000, so 380,000 volt high power line, yes, right? The Schumann resonances may get overshadowed by the 380 kilohertz high power line. And when people see they see lines, horizontal lines, what I call artifacts on the spectrogram, they ask, oh, what is that? And a lot of times it's some local machinery or something in the area that's, you know, here operating at 380,000 volts high power line. It's a high tension line. That's your power main that goes to the middle of town, and they're picking it up miles, kilometers away. You know, they tell you that. the car is passing 25 meters, right? It's not mile, that's a meter, 25 meters away from the sensor, leave their trace in the area below 10 hertz. All right. This here says induction coil, multi-strip spectrogram for shorter time event representation, magnetic field received by induction coil, FFT by 168, that's megahertz. All right, 168 megahertz resolution, scroll time 4.5 seconds, more than 4 hours are shown, picture updated every 30 minutes. All right, so they see these stripes, right? That's what that is updated, boop, 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 and then it clears the channel. All right. All right, so multi-strip representation, seeing everything, you know, looking for useful for comparing anomalies from day to day. Scroll time 110 seconds, 7 megahertz resolution. So a meg is 1,000. I'm sorry, a meg is a million. Kilo is 1,000. Right? 7 million megahertz. Kilo is 1,000. Mega is a million. Giga is a billion. Peta is a quadrillion. Peta. All right, so that takes us through the data. Now that's fun time where I get to graffiti this. Although I have to say, I did talk a lot about that. I'm not sure what more I could really say. I don't know. Let's listen to some music. Maybe I'll figure out something to say. I don't know. Where are we at? Oh. Show some love.
I say, Mama, I go die, oh, for the love of a girl, oh. I go die, oh. I wanna kiss my bride. I wanna hug my bride, oh. I wanna kiss my bride. Oh, Papa, tell me how much you want for your baby, oh. Hey, I go pay, oh. Mama, tell me how much you want for your daughter, oh. Hey, I go pay. I didn't lie. Lady, I am serious, so serious, I wanna make serious. Oh, Cinderella, oh sweet Pamela, I will sing you an a cappella to show you I love you. Ooh, I cherish no other lady. Oh, oh my lady, my lady. Oh, oh my lady, my lady. Oh, oh my lady. They wanna know who my girl is. Sweet Pamela, Amala, she lives in Ghana. Ghana, she lives in Ghana. Ghana, she lives in Ghana. Pamela, oh, oh. Lady, I am serious. Oh my baby, I wanna marry you. Oh my baby, oh Cinderella, oh my baby, oh sweet Pamela, oh my lady, sing you an a cappella, oh my baby, show you how